So first I'll just introduce myself further. My name is John Greiner. I'm a senior lecturer and I teach 2 courses in the Masters of Computer Science. I teach databases and I teach system software. One of our questions to you is, what do we find exciting in computer science, and how and how does our program help you towards that? And so obviously the hot area these days is AI, machine learning. That's where all the buzzwords are, and that's where all the press is. And absolutely, in our program, we have several courses directed towards that. It's not my specialty, not my classes, but we have several in our program. And I think, my general feeling of that area is that it's both sort of underhyped and overhyped simultaneously. In that, I think that as time goes by, people are going to be surprised at the things that, these AI tools can do, right? We're constantly surprised by, the, deep fakes and, all that other sort of thing. And who can trust any video anymore and that sort of thing. It'll replace some kinds of jobs, and I think those things will absolutely happen, and we'll be surprised just exactly how that takes place. But at the same time, I think it's also overhyped, right? I think that at least with the current tools, there are some real limitations to AI and machine learning that inherently they're incredible what sort of patterns that they can find and utilize in massive amounts of data and look like they're smart, but really they're quite dumb. Even the most sophisticated tools are really dumb, right? All of these chat GPT and such, right? They have no clue what this text that they're generating actually says or is about. Right? They're really stupid in certain ways. And I think that, they're going to absolutely fail for some tasks that people would like them for. I think that's, and in our program, by taking the relevant courses in it, I think that, you'll become better trained and be able to give a more in-depth description of what I just said, right? Where can these tools be used and where can't they? And have a better idea of what's going on. So I think that's one of the many things that you can get out of this program. One other general question we wanted to address here is just how should students approach a master's degree? So first of all, I would say our master's, is a true master's, is we're not dumbing down the classes to get students through. It's a rigorous program. The classes are hard, but absolutely doable by students of highly varied backgrounds. We have numerous examples of students who are going through our programs who had very limited computer science backgrounds entering and have been very successful in our courses, but they'll tell you that they were challenging. And in particular, we really encourage students to take only 1 or 2 classes at a time, because especially on top of a full-time job, that's all you're going to be able to have time for. So, we want you to we want you to be successful in our program, and we, really try to provide a lot of resources and a lot of face time in order to help you. All right, so before I turn it over to next panelists here, and want to once again encourage everybody to turn on your video so we can see your smiling faces. Also, since we've had a few people add, I want to say. So first we're doing some panel overviews, answering some, addressing some general advice and such. Then we're going to open it up to general Q&A, and I'll give additional instructions then as well, but I'll just repeat myself. So for now, I want to turn it over to Sinan and have him introduce himself.
Hi, Jen. Thank you. My name is Sinan Kockara. So the pronunciation-wise, it might be a little difficult. If you prefer to use Simon, I also go with Simon. So I'm teaching one of the online courses that is Comp 614, Programming for Data Science. And if you start the program, next semester, you'll be in my class. So I'm also teaching a undergrad and graduate course called Tools of and Models for Data Science, especially for big data processing. So computer science field is actually, I think, very exciting and have a lot of opportunities. As John said, the AI machine learning nowadays is overly hyped and also sometimes underly hyped. And there are many opportunities, and the nature of computer science is very interdisciplinary and can be applicable to any kind of sector and have many job opportunities. And for our program, I think it is rigorously designed, and all the courses are demanding, very well designed, and requires proper scheduling, considering that you have a full-time job. And so my advice to you is that I have a couple of advices based on the student feedbacks that we received throughout the semesters. First of all, mentally prepare yourself for the workload. On top of your full-time job, you will have additional workload. Sometimes will be very demanding, I'll say. So our program is rigorous and high quality, and be ready for work. Okay, and for that, I think scheduling your time will be very critical. So try to be always on time. If the work accumulates by time, you'll be falling behind. Then later on, catching up will be a lot more difficult. So proper time management is critical. And one of the strongest things that I can talk about our program is actually everyone is here to help you guys. So including instructors, TAs, and your classmates. So one-on-one sessions with the instructors, the live sessions, office hours availability, and the email and Piazza communications, we use them very effectively. So, and you will not be left alone. And I strongly recommend you to, get engaged with the faculty, and everyone is very friendly, and also with your teammates and classmates. And through the live sessions, what we do is usually we have a couple of exercises that we do implement together in teams. So 3 to 4 team members, you'll be together, and each breakout rooms, there will be one instructor and or TAs. So we'll be always helping you throughout the way. So also another thing is be ready to get your hands dirty, because whatever you learn from the video lectures or from the live sessions will not stick if you don't get your hands dirty. Be ready to try more, and in lecture videos and the live sessions in limited time, you can cover at some extent. However, we always tell our students that whenever you have questions, we have live office hours throughout the week and almost every day. So come to our office hours, email us, ask us questions, or even come together with your teammates and through Zoom meetings and discuss whatever the problem that you are encountering with. We'll be always there. One-on-one sessions will be very helpful, and everyone is reachable. So accessibility is, I think, one of the most critical thing which makes our program very strong, I think. What else? So whenever possible, I recommend you to seek out every opportunity to interact with your cohorts of students or students, previous students maybe. There will be a lot of networking opportunities. There are also many out-of-class activities such as this one. If there is, if your schedule permits, we'll be happy to have you in those activities. Those will be very helpful for networking, to get to know each other, and be more informed about the program and the people, and be socially engaged with the people. So I think that's pretty much what I have right now to this point. By the way, we have two students, Chad and Matt, and they, I think, will provide more insights from the student point of view.
Yeah, so next, Chad.
Yeah, sure. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining the call. So I'm a student here in the MCS at Rice program. This is my second semester. I started last semester with algorithms class, and then this semester I'm taking databases. So pretty much just taking one class per semester, which is probably what I'll do moving forward, just because, working full time, it's hard to take more than that. There might be a semester or two where I might try to take two, depending upon my workload. But yeah, so far it's been a really great program for me. Just to give you a little bit of background, so I live in San Francisco, California, originally from Ohio. I work as a software developer for an engineering consultancy called AECOM, and I'm actually a career changer. So I transitioned into software development a little over a year ago. And I used to be a structural engineer. So I have a bachelor's and master's in civil engineering. And to make that transition into software, I actually did a boot camp a little over a year ago. And the boot camp was great. It really got kind of my feet wet, got my hands dirty into building applications from scratch, full stack development. But when I graduated, I really felt like there were a lot of theoretical gaps I was missing. And it really dived deep into very specific tech stack as well. So I didn't really have a sense of kind of the big picture. So pretty soon after graduation, I was really thinking, really I should go back and maybe get a traditional degree in computer science. I really feel like that would be good for me in terms of my long-term career progression, and then also kind of strengthening my knowledge base as a software engineer. So I started looking at programs, and a couple things really struck me about Rice. One, just right off the bat, it's a very strong program. I really wanted a program that ranked well, that was had a good reputation in the country, something that a name that employers would recognize and respect. But also, I wanted a program that kind of filled in the blanks that that I had. Not having a bachelor's in CS, but I also wanted a true master's as well. So I kind of wanted both. And I really feel like this program does a good job of hitting both those points. You do need to have some programming knowledge and experience coming in, but you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor's in CS as long as you have some sort of, training or, self-taught or professional experience, etc. So that was perfect for me because I really wanted, I wanted to kind of fill in those gaps, but also wanted the opportunity to dive in deep into subjects like machine learning, for example. So you'll notice on like the Rice website, there's a few different specializations that you can pick. One of them is machine learning. And what I love about that is like, I didn't want to specifically go into, I didn't want to get like a data science degree or a machine, I didn't want to super specialize. I wanted a CS degree, but I also, again, wanted that opportunity to dive in deep into a specific subject. So this program really hits both those points for me. Yeah, some of the other reason I picked this program was there's really no differentiation between the online and in-person. And I knew that going in, but I was even surprised to the degree which it's really the same. Like, I'm on all these different email lists that, go to both the in-person and on campus. And I really feel like I'm in the loop and I'm a part of the CS community. I don't feel like I'm kind of sidelined as like an online student at all whatsoever, which is great. And I also have access to a lot of the same benefits as the in-person program. So, for example, all the career resources, which are fantastic. So I was actually last semester able to attend a career fair hosted by Rice. And they had both a virtual version and an in-person. And I actually attended both. I did the virtual, which is great for, a remote student like me. But then I took it as an opportunity to fly to Houston and visit campus for the first time, check it out, and attend the in-person career fair as well. So those opportunities are available to you even as, a student in the online program. And then I guess the last thing I'll mention is that the alumni network too is great. I've had the opportunity to reach out to a few people who have graduated from the program, and actually some people I've even networked with people who are pursuing the bachelor's in CS at Rice. Some people I met through like the career fair and things like that. And in general, the alumni network I found have been very friendly, very helpful, which I think also bodes well in terms of your long-term career progression and having Rice I think is an excellent affiliation to have. So yeah, I guess that's all I'll say for now. I don't want to talk too much, but I'm an open book. If you have any questions, let me know. Do you want to go? I guess Matt's next.
Yeah, so the last member of our panel today is Matt.
Hey guys, also a student in my second semester here in the CS program. Unlike Chad, I'm doing the program basically full time. So I'm taking 3 classes per semester. So after this semester, I'll be about 60% done with the program. 3 classes is pretty much a full-time job. I'd say 40 to 60 hours a week of work at this point in time. But if you do that, you can finish in a year, which is what I'm shooting for. A little bit about my background. I'm also a career changer using this program to do that. I was a patent attorney for 10 years, but I am technically inclined to have a degree in electrical engineering. Yeah, I think Chad covered a lot of the positives about the program that I won't just say again. But yeah, I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right, thanks everybody. So we'll turn to our Q&A section of our meeting here, and just to remind everybody, so yeah, it'd be great if you can ask your questions live. Either raise your hand or raise your hand virtually via the button under reactions, or if you prefer, you can also ask your question via text on the using the Q&A button in Zoom. Once again, any more administrative questions will be answered by Brooke Sabo in the Q&A text, and the rest of our panelists will answer the more academic and advice and that sort of questions. So ask away.
I have raised my hand.
Yes,
Can I
Ellie.
go first? Okay. Chad, I'm coming from the same background, very like yours. I did my, education in architectural engineering and got my master's in construction management, and I'm looking for a career transition. I took General Assembly bootcamp, and I felt like I have to reinforce the foundation. So I decided to pursue a degree in computer science. But I'm lacking lots of prereqs like C++, so I took some online courses. The transcript ones. But I was wondering what else did help you kind of to improve your application and to make you stand out? What did you do, for your application?
Yeah. And I will say, in terms of admissions, I'm not totally aware of like how they make the decisions, but I can tell you like what my background is. So I did the boot camp, as I mentioned. The other thing that I did was actually starting a couple years ago, I started taking some CS classes at a local community college at the City College of San Francisco. Just sort of like more, I guess, the bachelor level, classes, things like I took like a foundational class in Java, took a Python class, a couple other ones. And those classes were very kind of, they weren't really, I guess, theoretical. They were very much like application, like here's how you program. So, obviously that's very different from, the MCS program at Rice, which is going to be kind of a mix of, theory and practice. But I feel like that was something that personally I think prepared me well for the program. So even though I didn't get like a formal degree from the community college, just having those classes under my belt together with the boot camp, I feel like prepared me really well for success.
Okay. And by taking one course or two courses during the semester, after how long you felt like you're ready to take on a career in the industry for software engineering?
Sorry, what was the question?
So you're taking one course or two courses max during a semester. After how many semester you feel you are ready, to take on an internship or a full-time job?
Oh, well, I'm working full-time as a developer now. So really this is kind of a really an enhancement to kind of opportunities and just my performance as a developer. Yeah. Because I've only been working as a full-time developer for like a year now. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Got my answer.
But yeah, I think I guess it depends on what your background is in terms of, when are you ready to like start applying to jobs? I mean, you could start applying first semester if you wanted to. It just depends on, I think it really depends on kind of what your background is and also what you're looking for career-wise.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think probably most of the learning is going to occur on the job there, but the program will definitely give you a lot of theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. With one of the foundational courses will teach you to program in Python to a pretty good degree. And then there's another course, programming languages, that covers multiple different languages that you can kind of get an introduction to. But yeah, I think there's also going to be some self-learning required to get there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll add a little bit more in terms of, Ellie asking, what should you do before you apply? So you don't necessarily need any particular programming language background. As Matt said, our first course uses Python. It doesn't assume that you have had Python before, but it assumes that you've done some programming before, right? So we want, we're going to be looking during admissions that you have some background, not necessarily tons. We prefer if that background actually comes with some sort of, like a grade attached, through like a community college course or whatever. But I mean, we also consider, MOOCs and the certificate programs and boot camps like that as well, right? We look at it very holistically. Now, more specifically in terms of topics, students very commonly come in with the, programming 101, 102 sort of background, through various types of courses or online courses or, self-taught or whatever. I think one thing that would definitely help students is if you also have a class or a MOOC or whatever in a little bit more theory, basic, some data structures, some some of the basic math used in computer science, because that's the thing that students will hit first and struggle with more.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, Max.
Hello, my name is Max, and I'll be graduating this semester with a Bachelor of Computer Science from University of Houston. And I was wondering the difference between, I guess, what a bachelor and a master could give, especially at Rice, coming from another different program. I'm pursuing the master because I also feel like there's some gaps in my knowledge and that I need to patch up. And also, side note, I do have a lot of self-taught programming experience as well. So I was wondering how, and this is another question, I know I just comboed it, but I was wondering how much theory to application ratio there is in the curriculum. Obviously, each course is maybe different, but overall.
So first, bachelor versus masters, right? I mean, overly simplistic answer there is the master's, goes beyond the bachelor's and gives you, greater depth and but it depends specifically on the courses that you're taking. But in general, it's going to give you greater depth and more experience. Something I'm not. This is not okay. I don't want you to take this comment about you specifically, Max, but I'll say, one subset of our applicant pool is students with a bachelor's, but maybe with a lower GPA or maybe a weaker school, and now what they're wanting to do to come to Rice, and maybe they've missed out on some background, and want to kind of just strengthen their, and also strengthen the resume there, right? Having essentially a second chance on raising a GPA, or having a stronger program or some combination of that. Again, right, I don't know about Max's specific background, so I don't want to take those comments specifically attributed to Max, but right, at least some subset of our bachelor students coming from a bachelor's of computer science have that sort of a motivation. In terms of sort of pragmatics versus theory, our students might have some input there, but I would say that our online program is targeted towards a professional set of students who are looking for actually going out and doing, practical work. But we always want that practical knowledge that we're focusing on to be backed up by the theory, so that students know why they're doing it this way versus another way, or to be able to understand when new ideas come out, how does that differ from what they've taught? So it's really a balance, but I would say the practicality is at least the sort of the forefront, with the backing of the theory there. So, I mean, if Chad and Matt have any sort of additional.
Yeah, I think Dr. Greiner kind of hit it on the head there. There's some classes that are I would say almost 100% practical, like just teaching how to program in a certain language or, about certain data structures or something like that. But then there's also like, took a statistics course last semester for the machine learning part of the program. And, that was just all math, all theory. You get courses like database that are, I'd say, a good mix of theory and practicality. And then I'm in also Dr. Griner's system software class this semester. I'd say that's very theoretical, but there are some practical aspects mixed in there as well. So yeah, I think practicality forward, but the theory is definitely in there.
Yeah.
But was somebody? Sorry, was
No,
somebody
I
else?
was just going to agree. I like how you phrase that, practicality forward. I think that's, yeah, I totally agree.
Before I was going to address one question from the Q&A. So somebody, Mike asked about letters of recommendation, and Brooke partly addressed that, but I want to follow up and say that the letters of recommendation, what really stands out and what is when the recommender can actually talk about your technical skills, right? Now, if you have, and if they're familiar with their computer science types of skills, that would be important to talk about. But also just, if you're coming from some other engineering type job, for example, right, still talking about the engineering and mathematical skills that you're using in your job, right? Not just sort of generalities. All right.
And I can just to add to that, like my background was as an attorney for 10 years. It was patent law, so there's technical aspects to it. You need to be able to understand the inventions. But the actual work I was doing was, lawyer work. But my letters of rec were from my direct superiors there, just because I was so far out from undergrad that I couldn't ask for a letter from my professors. But I did, ask them to highlight kind of the technical aspects of the job, just like Dr. Greiner said.
All right, Jose.
Hi, first off, thank you for having us. I had some unforeseen driver issues, so my camera is forcefully off at the moment, so I do appreciate the flexibility there. My question is, I've noticed on LinkedIn, the computer science program is quite robust, and there's a lot of folks, winning awards and doing a lot of great research and a lot of things in that aspect. My question is, as an online student, are there opportunities to engage in research or activities such as competitions, et cetera, or are there even requirements as part of being a master's student?
So there's definitely no such requirements along those ways as part of the program. This program is a professional master's. It does not involve any research, and it doesn't get you associated with the research going on in the department. Now, is it possible to get involved in the research? I would say yes, but it's not, there's no sort of direct connection there, right? You're going to have to work at establishing a connection with, some research program. It helps if you're actually available in person. And right, I mean, but students in our students in our master's program don't well, okay, I think I basically said what I wanted to say. I was getting lost in that sentence. So it's at least potential and possible. Now, Brooke also messaged me here saying that in one of our classes, are in a cybersecurity class. She has the instructor has her students as a requirement of the class get involved in a cybersecurity competition. And apparently we do have some students who get involved in some other sorts of competitions. I'm not directly familiar with those, but so there are some there. I mean, there is a Rice hackathon as well that's primarily aimed at the undergraduates, but I imagine you can get involved in that. So as the students have said, right, we don't draw firm distinctions between our online and on-campus students, right? Certain things are going to be easier if you're on campus and just you can show your face and interact in person, but there's no hard wall there.
And I am Houston based, so that helps a lot. Thank you.
Eduardo.
Thank you. Well, my name is Eduardo, and my background is mostly in industrial engineering and manufacturing. And I currently work for an oil and gas industry for over 10 years as a supply chain architect solutions. My question is more about the content, because there are great topics right now as machine learning or artificial intelligence, but we have a need, for something more, I would say more common, which is ERP systems, and systems as SAP or Oracle databases, things like that, which I can tell, there is a lack of, I would say, skills, in the market right now. So I was wondering, is that kind of topics, already considering the context, for the master degree program, or is something that maybe is out of the scope?
Well, I teach our databases course in that we don't specifically address SAP, but we use Postgres as our primary tool. We also use MongoDB and Neo4j as a couple examples of NoSQL type database systems. We're we absolutely do a lot of practicality in there in terms of we do a deep dive into how to write queries and using advanced features of SQL, and we also spend a lot of time on query optimization and tuning so that your queries are actually efficient. But and simultaneously there's a fair amount of theory in there. Well, to touch query optimization and tuning, you've got to describe what the process is underneath the hood to a certain extent, and you get into ideas of what is relational algebra and query plans and things like that. To understand a lot of the features of SQL, you've got to understand multi-sets and quantification. So there's again, right, the theory backs up that practicality. You need that theory to really understand the practicality. Now I mentioned databases because that you specifically address that, right? We do have courses specifically in machine learning, AI, cybersecurity, which are current hot topics. There are with our new so there's a lot of things that truly address the skills that students need. I'll also mention that my as the students have said, I also teach system software. In there we get into, among other things, concurrent programming and machine virtualization, which are very important things in the programming side of the world these days.
Okay, thank you.
David.
Sorry, I tend to have a billion questions all the time. do you need to, coming in, do you need to have any real experience with low-level languages like C or Java?
So we expect you to have some sort of programming background. Most typically that's going to be Python or Java, but what we're looking for is, well, what we really hope for is some actual programming, not just scripting and putting a few applications together with with a few calls here and there, but some real programming experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be C or Java or any other particular language.
Okay. But like being able to set up new classes, things like that.
Again,
Don't need
that sort of
object.
background is helpful. You're going to, the intro programming oriented courses do cover that, but it is absolutely helpful to have seen it before.
Okay. And how much of the program is like web development based versus other things? I've been surprised that a lot of programs, kind of web development's their main focus for everything. They claim they cover everything, but kind of web is all they do.
Really, web development is not one of the things that we focus on at all. I would say, I mean, there's no course specifically targeting that, and I would say various courses touch on some of it, but it's not an emphasis in our program at all.
Okay. You mentioned the research projects. Are those mostly performed or done by like full-time PhD students?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and their faculty, and so for any student who is hoping to get involved with that, you really need to reach out to the appropriate faculty instructor or the faculty researcher. Try to somehow hook up with his program, his or her program. It helps if you're in person and can, but you're gonna, that sort of, we can give you introductions to the appropriate faculty, but making that jump into getting involved with a research program is not part of the standard master's program, and is not common among our students.
All right, thank you.
But that's at least a potential.
Thanks.
Ellie.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering what are some required prereqs for admission? I mean, in terms of courses like calculus and stuff. So, I was wondering if there is a list, mandatory to have them before applying.
Yeah, so there is a list, and it's more a topic-based list rather than a course-based list. Our marketing people absolutely have that list. And Brooke, maybe you can make sure that Ellie and any other students who want to see that get that. But I want to emphasize here that our admissions is very holistic. We get students with highly varied backgrounds. I mean, you've heard a little bit just from your peers in this call, and a couple of the students here, coming from widely diverse backgrounds. And I am on the admissions committee for our program. So again, there's not like one specific thing that we're absolutely looking for, but basically we're looking for evidence that we think you'll be successful in our program. And so we want to see that you have done technical work before, whether that be in school, in your job, some combination of that, that you have, at least some background in computer science / programming, and so, that's sort of on one end very you can dramatically address that with a computer science or an electrical engineering degree, right? But for students without sort of in that spectrum, right? Another engineering degree, right, shows us you can do technical work and have that math background, but we're still want to see some evidence of computer science knowledge that you have. And so whether that's courses, whether that's MOOCs, a boot camp, somehow you magically got into a job that does that, and now you can have letters of recommendation back that knowledge up, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any classes geared towards, say, collaborative programming or enterprise-wide level programming where you're involved with several folks working on particular aspects of an application using techniques like GitHub and DevOps and things like that, where you might have several folks in code, and with those types of is there more practical experiences in the classes, or do they just kind of gloss over features and things like that?
So I'm gonna divide that question into a few things. So first of all, most of our classes are more individual based rather than team based, for the simple practical realization that professionals who are working full time and might have families find it difficult to coordinate. Now, however, one of our required classes in the program is a capstone class that does involve larger teams, that you are absolutely doing program everything, design it from scratch, use whatever libraries are appropriate, and doing the whole thing. At least to my knowledge, at least what I've seen in the past is that they do have a web front end to that. It frequently involves a database component in there. They worry about the stack of tools that you're using, which can vary from semester to semester. But so we absolutely have that as well, but the bulk of our classes are more individual. Now, individual classes as well touch on some of the things that you mentioned, such, for example, using GitHub. My system software class uses GitHub, although for individual repositories, not group repositories, for example.
Sure. No, that helps a lot. And I guess the other question I had was, would you say that the online master's program differentiates from the, I guess, on-prem, if you want to call it that, from the fact that for working professionals, this is a good option, as opposed to, if I am here in Houston and I can go in person, is that, I guess, what are the deciding factors from choosing online as opposed to on-prem? And is the acceptance rate about the same or not? I guess those are the only other outstanding questions I have.
So, all right, so multiple questions in there. So first of all, the on-campus master's, has few, if any, evening courses. It's really not designed to work around a working student's schedule. It's really, assuming students are taking classes full time. The admissions criteria are different, in part because the requirements and the courses are different. Our program is very much geared towards working professionals with a highly varied background, and the courses are geared towards, accommodating a different backgrounds. Whereas the on-campus master's program pretty much assumes that you have an undergraduate bachelor's in computer science or a closely related major. And you know, the admissions rates are also very different. Brooke, in the Q&A earlier, I saw that she said the online admissions acceptance rate is somewhere around 50%. I would say the on-campus MCS admissions, which I'm also on that committee, is, I think we admitted something like, I don't know the magic number, but I think we admitted somewhere around 300 out of 2,000 applications or something like that.
Okay.
So
that clarifies a lot.
Yeah. In terms of the requirements for the two programs are different, but actually I'll point out that they overlap in that you can, if you're in the online program, but you are actually in Houston, you can fulfill some of the program's requirements by taking on-campus courses.
Oh,
and
that's
vice
great.
versa,
Okay.
actually.
Awesome.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Chad to talk about the live sessions a bit.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
I have a class to attend, so sorry, I had to leave.
Yes, so I do see it is basically 1 o'clock. Officially, this meeting ends at 1, and I know that, you know, with students, you know, typically working professionals, you need to get back to your job after lunch break here. But I will stay on if there's additional questions, and hopefully Chad will be able to stay on to answer this one question.
Yeah, I can stay on for a
so
little
feel
bit.
free to drop off. If you do stay, we'll continue to answer questions.
So I think that you were talking about live sessions, Dr. Griner?
Right.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah, so Brooke had asked you to talk about live sessions and your time commitment per week.
okay, yeah. So yeah, live sessions are so far they've been once a week for the classes I've taken. And for the databases class, generally it's hour and a half. And then the class after class semester, it kind of varied depending upon the material. They're technically not required, but I think it's very beneficial to attend. And I feel like I get a lot out of it in terms of just networking with other students in my class, and also kind of clarifying some things, the opportunity to ask questions, and kind of work through some of the more tricky parts of the material. So yeah, the live sessions are great. Yeah, so what was the other question? Oh, time commitment.
Time.
Yeah, so for me, I think when I came in, we do have a student success advisor. Her name is Amanda McKelly. She's fantastic. And I think the official advice from her was to assume that you're going to spend like 15 to 20 hours per week per class. For me, I think it's more than what I've spent, but I think that's good advice to kind of block that out in your calendar. For me, I think for last semester, and I know this because I actually like clock in, clock out of when I do classwork like it's a job. So actually pulled this up. So last semester I spent 9.7 hours per week on my algorithms class. And that's including like any break. So that's kind of like a smeared average over the semester. And so far in databases, Dr. Greiner, plug your ears. I've spent 12 and a half hours per week so far in databases. And that's all inclusive. So exams, you know, live sessions, homeworks, et cetera, et cetera. That's just my experience. You know, for some folks, you know, you might spend less than that, you might spend more. It also depends on what your goals are in the class. Do you want to get an A in the class? Do you want to do your absolute best? Are you just satisfied with maybe just a B? Depends on what your expectations and your own goals are coming in. Yeah, so far I have an A in the class so far. Yay. And that's been my time commitment so far. So hopefully that's helpful. I don't know what's it been for you, Matt, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good. Like I said, I'm kind of doing the program like full time, which is like 3 classes, so nine credits. Yeah. Yeah, I think it just varies a lot. Like the intro to programming class, I didn't need to spend very much time on because I was already pretty experienced Python programmer. But then there's classes like databases, a little more involved. I think it's similar to you, 10 to 15 hours, somewhere in there. It just varies, but different times of the semester too seem to kind of wax and wane how much work you need to do. But 3 classes is pretty much a full-time gig for me at this point in time.
Yeah, and I will say for me, like I came into the databases class with databases as kind of one of the classes that I think it skews more towards the heavier workload out of the online courses.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I think what's helped me, I think coming in, I think I already had some database experience coming in from my job and from my boot camp as well. I think the class still totally would have been doable without that experience. It just means that, instead of 12 and a half, maybe I would be spending 15 or something hours per week. So I think it's very doable for multiple backgrounds. It's just your time commitment might vary a bit depending upon what you're bringing into the class.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I could easily see people that have never seen an SQL query or something like that spending 20 hours a week on databases. But if you have some knowledge going in, yeah, definitely less.
Yeah.
And I'll interject one thing that hasn't come up in, for those of you who might be out of school for a while and have kind of forgotten the routine of taking classes, absolutely start your homeworks and projects, before a night before. You might have forgotten that, but absolutely you need to do that. Max.
Hi, I was wondering, as for like someone coming in with multiple, like maybe like internships or contract jobs under their belt, would that be not a replacement, but an equivalence to submitting like a GRE for the application?
So first of all, a GRE score is not required, and I would say the minority of our students currently, or of our applicants, provide a GRE score. It's actually one of the running jokes among our admissions committee, of different members of our admissions committee rank different things in an application differently, in particular a GRE score. But anyway, I mean, all of your background is relevant for jobs and internships and such. The more technical of a recommendation letter or whatever sort of documentation of showing us that yes, you actually had to do some real engineering to put this together, as opposed to, oh, you wrote a few scripts that tied together a bunch of things that already existed. Sort of trying to differentiate that is one of the things that we're trying to read between the lines in your applications.
Let's see. Okay. And how strong would like any type of certifications hold in the application? For example, like a solution architect for AWS.
So right there, okay, there's 2 different kinds of certifications that I would say, right? So there's the AWS certification, for example, which So there is some sort of a testing there. So the good part of that is that there's some sort of a testing that certifies, yes, you actually know something. I would say the downside of those certifications are typically that they're very pragmatically oriented, very typically tool oriented, very narrow scope. So it says you know something, but I have little knowledge if how broad your knowledge is beyond that. On the other hand, certificates also come up with MOOCs. You know, you take several MOOCs and the certificate at the end of them. So the downside there is there's no testing involved. You finished the courses, but we have no idea if you actually learned anything. On the other hand, right, these MOOCs are usually at least taught well and have good content in them. So again, right, neither of those is sort of the full package, but they're both useful tools in your background. Just think about it from what it's telling us. Okay. All right. Brooke is saying me to go ahead and wrap this up here. So I thank you all for coming. If you have additional questions, I know that both our marketing people will be able to answer a lot of those, and a lot of them, and some of those get forwarded to us as well. So I'm happy that you guys were able to show up today, and hopefully we were able to address everybody's questions here.